in a series of videos up till this point about how to be a successful student, which includes how to be the kind of student that makes effective decisions, maximizing their working memory capacity. We've talked about all kinds of things, including goal setting and how to achieve those goals, about delayed gratification and being gritty, working and persevering towards a goal even in the face of failure. We've talked about mindfulness, the opportunity for us to control our cognitive function and being in the here and now, pushing aside distracted thoughts, decreasing our stress, and improving our working memory capacity. All that's scientifically demonstrated. The very last thing that we're going to talk about is metacognition. Metacognition is our awareness of our cognitive functions, right? It's our awareness of our cognitive functions. That includes things like our perception. That includes things like our memory. That includes things like our problem solving and decision making. And so metacognition is our awareness in large part of how to be a great student, right? Because if you're a student, you need to understand, that's cognition. You're going to need to retrieve information, that's memory. You're going to need to be able to solve problems and make good decisions. All of those things require metacognition. It is our awareness of those cognitive functions. One of the things that we've recognized is that it's not just about our cognitive functions per se. This also includes our emotional awareness. We talked earlier when we learned about working memory. Remember, working memory is the portion of your cognitive function where you're holding on. It's how much information you can hold on to at any one time. That's your working memory. It's right up here in your frontal cortex. We talked before that if you have strong emotion, it decreases your working memory. If you're really mad, if you're really sad, if you're really excited, if you are really proud, all of these emotions, whether they're positive or negative emotions, will decrease your working memory capacity. Metacognition is our awareness of that emotional capability that we have and how it's impacting our cognitive function. So you can start to see how metacognition and working memory really truly go hand in hand, especially since both are dealing with our cognitive awareness. Now, this metacognition could be our thoughts, our awareness about ourselves as a cognitive being, about the task that we're doing, whether it's a math task or a reading task or maybe completing a puzzle. How much cognitive awareness are you going to need? How much cognitive strength are you going to need to complete that task? It's also related to our ability to select and evaluate our strategies. When we're reading, we know that we have different strategies for reading. When we're solving a math problem, we know we have different strategies for solving math problems. When we're talking with friends, we know we have different strategies on how we talk to them. And metacognition helps us to evaluate, helps us to select the strategy and evaluate, is it the most effective? And to make adjustments along the way. Not surprising, since metacognition does all of these things, metacognition is one of the biggest predictors of academic success. Successful students develop their metacognition. They just do. And what it does is it helps them with selecting the right study methods. It helps them with monitoring their level of understanding when they're reading or when they're listening. it helps them to ask questions of professors or teachers or each other or the material that they're reading or even of themselves. Metacognition enables us to relate what we're learning now with things that we've learned in the past. And all of these things help us to be better students. So how can you use metacognition? You can use metacognition to help you to prepare to learn, right? You sit in class right beforehand and you use your mind. You think to yourself, what did I learn from last class? Or what was on the homework that I completed? And you bring that to mind, right? You use your metacognition to bring information into your working memory, right? Again, metacognition and working memory go hand in hand. You can use it to deliberately select what kind of study strategy you're going to use. You can't just go through and haphazardly study. Effective and successful students, remember, we came up before, we said they set goals and they establish a plan. And that a plan includes how am I going to study? That plan includes getting feedback. Is my studying effective? All of that needs metacognition. You can't do any of that without metacognition. Metacognition enables us to connect new knowledge with our prior knowledge, to synthesize it, to pull it all together, to help us to understand what do we know and understand and what are we confused upon. Students with high metacognition just do better in school. And so I'm going to leave you with 4 questions that you should ask yourself to maximize metacognition. And I'm going to write them down. Anytime you're studying, take these questions, write them on a note card, place them up where you're going to be studying. The first question you should ask is, what are you attempting to accomplish? Are you trying to learn a list of vocabulary terms? Are you trying to solve 5 calculus problems? Are you trying to understand and memorize symbols for science class? What are you trying to accomplish? And when you start off, you need to know. If you don't know what you're planning on doing, how are you going to get there? Right? This is one of those setting a goal. It's a small goal. It's a short-term goal, just for that study session. But it is a goal nonetheless, and this will help us. This will also require the use of our metacognition. The second question that you should ask yourself are, what strategies are you using to reach that goal, to get to that accomplishment? What strategies are you using? Again, you don't want to just do so haphazardly. You want to select a very deliberate strategy on how you're going to get there, right? We talked about successful students establish who, where, what, when, and how they're going to get to that goal. It's not enough just to plan it. You also have to evaluate it. How well are the strategies working? If you've been watching all of the videos, this should sound really familiar, right? Successful students establish goals. They establish a plan on how to get to those goals, and they seek feedback. Using our metacognition, we ask ourselves, what are we attempting to accomplish? We establish a goal. What are the strategies we're going to use to get there? You're consciously thinking about your plan. How well are these strategies working? You evaluate your own effectiveness. And when necessary, you bring in experts like your teachers to help evaluate as well. The last part is, what can you do to make it better? What can you do to make it better, right? That's the practice, 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 practice. You practice the not so fun stuff to fill in the gaps. Isn't this interesting? The steps of deliberate practice all align perfectly with the questions you ask yourself to maximize your metacognition. That's because even though I might approach the science of student success from a scientific perspective, the bottom line is that it's still pretty logical. It's still pretty natural. It's still something that you probably inherently do. All you have to do is exercise your metacognition. And just like working memory, the more you use your metacognition, the better it gets. The better your metacognition gets, the higher your grades are going to be, the more successful you're going to be. So I want to thank you for listening to me, and I want to wish you happy thinking.